Welcome to PBS Reno Arts. I'm Dave Santina.
And I'm Rebecca Cronon. Today we are thrilled to welcome to the show Beth Macmillan, the executive director of Artown. We have collaborated with Beth for years. She is the host of the PBS Reno production Artifacts. Through that show since 2016, we have shined a light on more than 200 local artists and arts organizations.
Artown and PBS Reno do share many values when it comes to arts and culture in Northern Nevada, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you here today. And of course, the fact that we love having you in here, and we do it a couple times a month, it seems, to get Artifacts shot. So thank you for coming back on a day off, we'll call it, an Artifacts day off, for Artown, which is coming up. So we're excited for that. It's July this year. Every year it's July. And for those who don't know, it's a month-long arts festival. I'll say it quickly. There's a lot more to it than that. You're the expert. Tell us all about this year's Artown.
This year's Artown is amazing. It's really interesting. As soon as our website goes live, and it went live on May the 1st, we start getting feedback from the community. Everybody's become an expert on the programming at Artown, and they sort of have an opinion. And it's wonderful to hear back from them. I had a woman who came into the office yesterday. She said, "This year's lineup is just amazing. It seems so well thought out." And, I think that every year we hear that. And it's not necessarily that one year is superior to any of the other years. It's just that in that moment in time, it seems perfect for that moment in time. Mm-hmm. And so every year we sort of hear the same comment, but it's delightful to know that people are invested to have an opinion on what's going to happen in July.
Yeah, I imagine back at the beginning, people weren't walking in the office to comment on it at all. They probably weren't even aware that it existed yet, right? This has grown over how many years?
Right. This is our 29th year. So when Artown first started in 1996, it was called Uptown, Downtown, Artown.
Yeah, I remember that. Do you remember that?
A little bit.
Uptown for the university, downtown obviously for downtown, and Artown. And people could never say that we were downtown, Artown. So in 1999, it became its own 501c3. And so at that time, they changed the name officially to Artown. And it needed to become a 501c3 because up until then, it had just been part of the city's budget in the Arts and Culture Commission.
Okay.
But it needed to get more support. Mm-hmm. So it became a 501c3. And in 1996, there was an estimated attendance of about 30,000 people, which was huge back then because downtown was dying.
Yeah.
Casinos were closing. There was no retail, no urban lifestyle. There was nothing.
Right. 30,000 people down there at that time. I mean, it sounds like a lot to me right now, just off the top of my head, but I realize it's grown way beyond that.
Right. We have an estimated attendance somewhere between 280 to 300,000 people. And a lot of it's estimated because, so many of the events that we have are admission free. Mm-hmm. So we have to sort of guesstimate the attendance. Anything that we sell tickets for, it's easy. Just look to see how many tickets you sold, right? So a lot of it is estimated, but it's very thoughtfully done.
Mm-hmm. And you still have more than 500 events. Is that number still true?
Absolutely. This year, we've actually expanded the little book. It's typically 96 pages, and this year it had to be 116 pages to accommodate all the events. And we've got Yvette Valenzuela, who is laying out our little book. Mm-hmm. She's very mathematical about it. She says, this year we've got this many characters, and last year you had that many characters, so we need, so it's very thoughtfully laid out. And
we should explain for those listening who are not familiar with this book what the little book is.
Oh, my goodness. Until it's printed, we call it the Little Nightmare. It is a very extensive little book. It measures about 4.5 by 4.5 or 5 inches. And we've tested over time the size. And this is the perfect size for putting in your pocket, putting in your wallet, just having it on your person. And it includes every single event, whether it's an ongoing event throughout the month or an exhibit, or it's a workshop that is happening that's a part of Artown, or an individual event. So there are many sections to it. We, of course, acknowledge all of our donors. We acknowledge park rules that we have in our main parks, Wingfield Park and Bartley Ranch Regional Park. There's a lot of information And people, we always wanted to not have a little book because it's an expensive product. And in 2021, when we had our COVID festival up at Rancho San Rafael, we couldn't do a little book because we didn't know what COVID was. Every week during COVID, you were masked, you were not masked, you could meet, you could not meet, you just didn't know. So we didn't do a little book that year. And people were really upset. Even though it was like, we explained, we at May 31, you can't go to print with a little book, you'll never get it in time.
Right.
So we learned our lesson then, no matter what, we have to print this little book. And what makes it hard is if an event cancels for some reason, it's not a dynamic thing like the website, which will change immediately. The little book, once it's printed, that's it.
That's a reflection of what you had at the time.
Yeah, but it really is something people love. And we print 55,000 of them. 5,000 are in Spanish. So we make sure we distribute that to areas where we know people speak a different language.
Sure.
Typically it's Spanish.
Oh, that's thoughtful of you. It reminds me of the PBS Reno program guide, the monthly guide. There's a lot of pressure to get everything in order before that goes to print because you have a short turnaround and you can't change it.
No, you can't change it. And there's always some red herring in there that somebody's going to find.
You're right.
Subject to change.
Yeah.
It's true.
So you went live with your website with this year's Artown Festival on Media Day.
Right.
So during Media Day, something else also happened. You got to reveal this year's poster artist. Can I talk about that?
We did, yeah. Steve Nighthawk is part of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, and he hails from the tribes that exist in our area, and that's the Paiute, the Shoshone, and the Washoe tribes. And the work is very true to our community, and it's also very true to his culture. The main part, I would say the central theme in the poster is this beautiful native basket, which, is a cultural element that has been for years and years and years, and it still is today. And, Michonne Eben is also part of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. She's on my board. And she explained that when she was a child, they were told that the Great Basin, the area in which we live, was a great basket. So in his poster, what's coming out of the basket is all the arts. You've got piano keys, you've got musical notes, you've got ballerina slippers, you've got theater masks, you've got musical notes, as I said, you got film coming out. And on the basket, you also see the city skyline of the city of Reno. So it really is how we have come together as a community, regardless of culture and differences. It really is a sort of a cohesive message about Reno and really our region as a community, how we have sort of come together. And it's also got a native dancer, and the skyline is gorgeous with beautiful clouds and the mountains that we know, and some amazing eagles.
It's great. And we, for a few years there, did a story on Artifacts about the poster artist for Artown. And so if you're listening and you'd like to check one of those out or all of them out, you can go to the website, pbsreno.org, watch Artifacts, look at the old stories about the poster artists. For a while there, we felt like doing it every year. It was because every year they were amazing, and the artists were different and unique, and their perspectives were fresh, and it was fun to know what motivated them. So I love seeing this one and hearing about it.
Yeah, and I think it's important with regard to the poster that it is different every year because there's so many different aspects to the arts and to our community, and it's really important to hear that voice in a poster. So I'm really, really proud of the work, and I'm really proud of Steve Nighthawk. And there will be an exhibit at Sierra Arts Gallery with his work.
Oh, cool.
During the month of July. So everybody can pop on over and see what else Steve has to offer. And it's plentiful.
Well, this makes me want to go see more. I think that's. I would hope that for an artist that would be a high compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Love it. I can't wait to see more of his work.
Yeah, incredible work, and it's nice to hear that he'll have that exhibit. And how did he respond when you reached out for him to do the poster? Did he kind of jump on board right away?
Yeah, he came to my office and we talked about it, and we want to sort of talk about Artown and talk about how he can tie his artist with any artist. We talk about how they can tie their artistry to who we are as an organization. And he was very thoughtful. and went away, and he came back with concepts. We always start with concepts to see if there's a direction, that if he's going in the right direction. And he came back with the concepts, and he was right on target. So we sent him on his way to go and create the work.
Wow.
And then Yvette Valenzuela changed it into a poster.
I love that Artown every year begins with a new piece of art.
Right?
It's
I know.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it really becomes a sort of a central piece for everything about. If you go to our website, you can see the way Yvette has created banners with sort of segments of this artwork on every page on our website. You see a different piece of the way she's so clever. She can sort of segment out, and you go, what is that? And you realize that those are sort of puzzle pieces that could make the whole poster that she's done, very creatively.
Yeah, really, really fun to look at and trying to decipher the messages in there. It's a big event. It's, as much as I would like to go to everything, it's impossible to go to everything because there's
it
so
is.
much. So
I tried one year. It is impossible.
Yeah, I harken back to an Artifacts story we did on you, and watched you running around like crazy for days. It was incredible, the work that you have to put in there. But it was fun to watch. It's another one story. So yeah, again, if you're listening, go to pbsreno.org and watch the Artifacts story about Beth. It was really fun.
Well, and in fact, Dave, I do have to, sorry to interrupt
It's okay.
you. You did a work of art, Artown. And we had somebody from PBS actually go with me to New York City.
Yes.
To follow around to see how this thing is put together from the very beginning of the year to build the festival that we create. So that was sort of intimidating having somebody follow me around when I've got people there from the Kennedy Center and Lincoln Center and
I can only imagine.
Stanford, UCLA, and they all like, what are you doing?
Why are you being followed by a cameraman?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, who is this Beth Macmillan? She's got a camera person with her.
Well, I'll just keep repeating myself now, but you can watch that too on the PBS Reno website, pbsreno.org, the Work of Art series. And that was the Artown episode from a few years ago now. But really, the amount of time and effort that goes in every year is incredible. You go to New York every year as sort of the beginning of the process, right?
It actually starts, I go to another conference in the prior September.
Okay.
So we take August and, sort of gather our thoughts and wits after an exhausting July. And then at the beginning of September, I go to a conference on the West Coast when I really start sort of, how am I going to put this puzzle together next year? And then in January, it is the meat of it all, I would say.
Well, it's really fun to see that segment from that program with you in this big hall, meeting all of these vendors. And it's one of those things that people don't think about what goes into a festival like that until they see the work and realize, oh, you're meeting all these representatives of all these artists and trying to negotiate attendance, or I suspect you probably have to work out what if anything people are paid and then scheduling and all of those elements that no one who goes and sits on the grass and enjoys a performance for an hour and then goes home really thinks about.
And I love that. I love that they are just enjoying and being in the moment. And they're sort of investing in the arts, and they're investing in Artown, and they're investing in our community. So, if people take Artown for granted, but they're there for it, I'm delighted, because it means that they're just enjoying everything we've worked hard for, and I love that.
So if you can't go to all the events, the 500 plus events, what tips and tricks do you give to people to allow them to experience Artown the best way possible? Like, what advice do you have?
I really believe that, first of all, you should try something new every year. So especially if it's admission free, guess what? If you hate it, you can go home. Money back guarantee if it's something.
That's true.
But I do think you go through the little book, or you go through our website, and you decide, what is your time availability? Is it daytime? Is it evening? Do you have children? Are you going to children-only events? So many of our events in the evening are also for whole families. It's not like the evening events are sans children. And I think you sort of need to decide, where do you live? How far are you prepared to travel? Because, we have events in Virginia City. We have events in Carson City. So where, what is your own bandwidth for the arts, and then sort of decide, okay, well, I know that I need to be home by 9:00. So you don't worry about the events that are after that.
Sure.
So, go through and look at something different and interesting. And the little book has a very, very short description for everything. If you see something that looks interesting, go to the website, because the website has a really much longer description. And many events have a video as a sampling of what that's all about. So, it does take a little work, but people who have navigated Artown, people take that little book with a highlighter.
Oh,
and
I
they
bet.
highlight events, and then they sort of earmark it, and they hold on to it. That for I've got some friends that have got little books for years.
I have been guilty of carrying one around with me
have a few.
far beyond the month of July, and then realized, 8 months later, I'm still carrying this around in my bag because I was wanting to be aware and ready and, check in every day. What's happening? What can I do?
Yeah, and there really is something for everyone. And another great thing about having the book with you is if you just find that you got a couple extra hours in a day, you can look and see what's happening around, whether it's a historical museum or whether it's down in McKinley Park or, one of the local theaters. Is it hot? Do you need to be indoors? Is it nice, gorgeous weather? Do you want to be outdoors? There's so much
Right.
that goes into it. And I always say for most of our free events, I say we have a museum experience. Like when you go to the theater, you get your ticket, you go and you sit inside, you sit down, you really only get up at intermission, if there is one, to go to the bathroom,
Right.
get something to drink. But at Artown, you can sort of show up at Wingfield Park, you can show up late, like at a museum, there's no time limit.
Yep, right.
And if you're with children and they're irritable or you want to leave early, guess what? You can get up and fold your blanket up and off you go, and you can leave when you want to leave.
I have been there. I can attest to that. It's valuable. It's a valuable thing to be able to depart without having to walk through an aisle of 65 people and apologize to them all. Yeah.
So I think there's real value in being in a theater and learning that etiquette, but there's also value in introducing people to the arts and having an experience that's not as intimidating.
Yeah, you do it so well. And like you said, you don't have to like all 500 plus events you have scheduled. The idea is to get the art out there and allow people to experience something new, experience something they may not be comfortable with, but regardless, the idea is to get it out there.
And for an artist, 90% of Artown is produced by regional and local artists. And I always recommend that they really do something amazing, just amazing for the month of July, so that they can do their own audience development for the other 11 months of the year. We want to make sure that people only start at Artown and then really attend all the arts that are offered throughout the year. And this is a great opportunity for sort of that exploration to discover new artists, to really see what they're about and then see where else they're performing throughout the year.
Do you have any anecdotal or other evidence otherwise as to the effect of Artown in that way? Do you hear that it's driving more people year round to the arts? A little bit, at least?
Yeah, one example, and it might sound like an odd example, but the Reno Historic Preservation Society do these amazing architectural walks in different neighborhoods, whether it's the Italian neighborhood or whether it's downtown or whether it's, the California Avenue, those big mansions on the bluff. I think they have one called. So they've got these incredible walks. And I know during the month of July, they get so many new people to the walks. And then the other 11 months of the year, they've garnered all these new people on their walks, and they're able to really grow their base, their database of who's interested in architecture.
That's exciting to know that you're having an effect on, even in a small way, on the appetite for this year round.
Yeah, just for our community to, even if it's by osmosis, to absorb the arts and then want to attend more arts events or arts experiences or go to workshops and become an artist themselves is just really astonishing. That from when I first started at Artown to where we are now, the audiences, sort of their sophistication of the arts and opinion of the arts is really so much greater. and their knowledge of different cultures that exist around the world, because we celebrate cultures that exist in our community, and we love to bring cultures that have yet to be celebrated in our community, so people get to learn about a different culture.
That's exciting, and I'm thinking about. I'm looking at as we talk at the website for Artown and seeing all the groups that are the organizations and the musicians who are coming, and it is across a wide spectrum and something truly for everyone. Do you have? I know you don't have favorites, because how could you? You love it all. But are there any particular attendees this year, or performances, or artists coming who you are particularly looking forward to?
Yeah, you're right. It's like asking somebody to pick their favorite child.
Right.
However, I can pinpoint a couple of events that I think are really noteworthy. One is our opening night is going to be truly extraordinary with Scythian. And we're also starting with Discover Opening Day, where we're going to have youth Bollywood and Little Swan Dancers, which are our Chinese dance group, and also taiko children performing. So we'll have the youth arts performing from our region prior to Scythian coming onto the stage. And that's going to be an amazing party of Celtic, Americana, roots. They're first generation American. Their parents are from the Ukraine. So they raise money through all their merchandise sales to really support that territory. So I'm really excited for our opening night.
And that's located at downtown, in the middle
Wingfield
of downtown?
Park. Yeah, in Wingfield Park. And that's on July the 1st. So it really is a night not to be missed. I would say that the event in Wingfield Park that's happening on the 10th, Sima Funk. He is a Grammy Award winner. He is Cuban funk, party, he's amazing. You just need to watch one of his videos and know that that's where place you've got to be on the 10th of July. I would also say that we're bringing back Circus Bella, which is a one-ring circus from San Francisco, and it's like Cirque-style circus for children, for families. And we put that up in the Reno Public Market.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's inside. And last year, and I don't know if they'll do it this year, but Reno Public Market, we're giving away. Now imagine, go back to your childhood and imagine free popcorn and free cotton candy.
What?
Right?
I want to go now.
I was never allowed cotton candy as a child. Imagine if it's free.
Oh, yeah. That's
Can't say no.
Right?
That's a dream.
But let's talk about the circus. The artistry, that's just a sidebar of what I was never allowed.
We go straight to the food. We go right to the food.
Oh, the treats. The circus is amazing. They have incredible artists. It's not a circus where they showcase animals. So it's true human artistry. And that is on the 6th and 7th. And it's open, and it's free admission. And it's a wonderful way for people to experience Reno Public Market as well.
So I'm familiar with the stage there. Is this at that stage area?
Directly in front of the stage.
In front of it, okay.
And so they move all the chairs and tables out of the way. They make one-ring circus, and they lay astroturf so kids can go and sit literally right around the ring and be that close to the artist.
How fun.
Yeah, it's really, really, really amazing.
Last year is the first year you did that, yeah?
We did it 2 years ago in Idlewild. And then that was not available last year for the dates we needed. So I begged Reno Public Market to go in there. And first they said no, and I went, I got to ask them. I said, why?
You can't say no.
And they said yes.
You charmed them into it.
I don't
You
know.
did.
I begged them. But they're not sorry that they did it. And we're going to do it again this year. And hopefully that's a sort of an event that we can do annually. And the circus changes every year. So if anybody came to see it last year, it was called something about bananas. I think it was called Bananas. This year's called WOW, W-O-W, exclamation mark. So the circus is really something I'm looking forward to. At Midtown, I'm really looking forward to Vanessa Collier. She plays the saxophone. She's blues. She's blues rock, funk,
Oh, yeah.
soul. I mean,
You've already sold me. I'm in.
unbelievable. And let's see, I would say on a Monday night, we have out at Bartley Ranch Regional Park, we have admission-free performances there. There are so many to pick from, to tell you to go to. David Hayes is a local hero. I recommend his show. We've got from France, the Django Festival All-Stars, and then we've also got Bria Skonberg. She's Canadian. She plays the trumpet and sings. Also more jazz than Vanessa, and she's the trumpet compared to the saxophone. But we got some iconic badass women in this festival. Let me tell you.
It sounds fun. I trumpet and singing is intriguing to me.
She's really amazing. And, we've got our headliners, not to be missed, the amazing Jake Shimabukuro on the ukulele, and he's doing a free class for the community at McKinley Arts and Culture Center. So if you've got a ukulele,
Really?
you show up and you can say, in your resume, you can say, I played with Jake Shimabukuro, which is a big deal.
That does a big deal.
So he's one of our headliners. We also, of course, have the amazing Dionne Warwick, who is... it's just an extraordinary opportunity for us to have. And only 900 people get to see her because it's at Bartley Ranch at Robert C. Hawkins Amphitheater. So, it's going to be...
That's a hot ticket.
It is a hot ticket.
That'll be a nice
And from my homeland, we have the amazing Lady Smith Black Mambazo,
Love them.
who are this a cappella, just the sound of their voices. It
I think
takes you
it's-
to another place, you know.
I think it's fair to say that there is no other singing group that sounds like that.
No.
They have a unique sound, a truly unique sound. I've never heard anything else that sounds the same.
And if people are not familiar with them, they played on with Paul Simon on Graceland. So the Graceland album with diamonds on the soles of her
Right.
shoes, and that's Lady Smith.
Like a lot of U.S. citizens, I was introduced to them through that music,
Of course.
through Paul Simon, and then I went out and bought music from them as well separately because it was just something that I couldn't find anywhere else, and
Yeah.
it's not been duplicated.
No, and then of course we also have Steep Canyon Rangers, which they're amazing bluegrass, but it's sort of North Carolina, old country bluegrass. It's amazing, and we had them originally. They're not coming with him this time, but when they are Steve Martin's bluegrass band.
Right. I was gonna ask about that because
Yeah.
I think of him being attached to them, but not this time.
Yeah, they play on their own. They're amazing musicians on their own, but thanks, Steve, for giving these guys an opportunity to stand on their own.
Now they are recognized. They were just
100%.
as good before, but now they get recognized. And isn't that the way it is a lot with artists? There are incredible artists everywhere, and you just don't know it because they aren't publicized. And then the ones who get the attention, you hope, they're worthy.
Right.
And in this case, absolutely.
So here's a fun fact, especially for Wild Nevada.
Yeah.
When we first presented them, they were coming in a day early, and it was the beginning of October. And we always say, well, is there something the artists would like to do if they're coming in early? Typically they'd like to go see Lake Tahoe, maybe Virginia City. Oh, these guys are they're fishing guides from North Carolina. So they, being the beginning of October, wanted to go fishing in Pyramid Lake because that's what they do.
Wow. Okay.
So I got a friend of mine who is a fisherman that goes out to Pyramid Lake. I called him and I said, what are you doing on whatever day it was? And he literally picked them up and took them, got them fishing gear, and they went out and spent the day fishing in Pyramid Lake.
Oh, wow.
They'll never forget that.
No.
Either.
That's a unique experience for them,
Yes.
right? Because there's no lake like that anywhere else.
No, it's coming from North Carolina,
Right.
Appalachian Trails and all
Right.
that stuff. No, it's not like Pyramid Lake.
Well, it's nice that that this area could give the performers an experience they'll never forget before they give us one.
Correct.
Makes me imagine Dionne Warwick performing in Bartley. She's going to be entranced with that location, I think.
Yeah, we had a group once, the On Trio. I don't know if you remember them, Korean sisters. And they said that was the best outdoor amphitheater performance space they'd ever performed in. Wow. And everybody that performs there has felt the same, regardless of who it is. It really is a magical place. And sitting in the grass, the tickets, if you come to a ticketed event, are so much more affordable. And that experience in the grass is so fabulous. I sort of, in a way, almost prefer to sitting in the seats because you really are on the side of a mountain, or on the side of a hill, I'll say, in the heart of the city of Reno.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on that you've really got to go through the website or the little book.
I was just going to say, it sounds...
Every weekday, we have Discover the Arts, where children can come down to McKinley, discover an art form, and do a project to take home with them.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like people need a book.
Amazing.
Well,
You just need a book.
I don't know. You know, a lot of the young people can navigate. Our website is really fabulous this year. And
If you're holding a device, if you're listening to this on a device, then you can just find it right now on the website. If you prefer paper, get the little book. But
the little book is definitely something people like to leaf through. And it's going to be available all over town. So there's no excuse to not pick up a little book.
Right.
So you joined Artown 21 years ago?
I joined Artown in 2001.
Okay.
But then I moved into the directorship in 2003.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I've been doing this for a long time. But as I've explained, every year you start with a blank slate and you get to create a brand new festival. So it's not like I'm doing the same thing every year. You're creating something brand new that people anticipate. What is it going to look like? What's it going to feel like?
Amazing. And logistically, it sounds like you can stick with what works throughout the years and grow and learn what did work and learn from like behind the scenes mistakes and then make it even better.
Yeah. And I mean, things change all the time. Obviously, backline and technical equipment has become tremendously expensive. The cost of the arts is just really expensive compared to what people think goes into it,
Yeah.
And so we really are reliant on so many funders. Whether we have, government support, we have the federal, the state, the county, and the city support. We have a lot of corporate support, of course. We have private foundation support. We have a ton of individual support. And then, of course, our earned revenue through merchandise and ticket sales. And a lot as well of in-kind support. We have tremendous hotel partners who provide all the hotel accommodation for artists. I mean, that's cash equivalent, right? I'd have to write a check for that.
Right.
So, the support, working in a nonprofit organization, the expenses are so much greater than somebody watching PBS on television.
Right.
It's a lot goes into it, but they shouldn't have to worry about it because they're investing in showing up.
Love it. Well, thank you for making it happen because none of it happens without, it starts with you at least. I'll say that. None of this would happen without your work to begin it. So we appreciate you breaking off a few minutes of this prep time to come and talk to us because it does mean a lot and I know you're very busy.
Well, thank you so much. And I have to tell you, I am honored to host Artifacts. It really means the world to me as well.
Well, we feel lucky to have you. So Mutual Admiration Society. All right. Well, I think have to wrap up. We're running out of time here. So I want to say to everybody listening, if you have suggestions for stories, for events, for people, artists, organizations you'd like to have featured or have us look into or talk to people who you'd like to hear from, you can make those requests at podcasts@pbsreno.org. And we look forward to hearing from you. And so, until our next PBS Reno Arts podcast, I'm Dave Santina.
And I'm Rebecca Cronon. Thanks for listening.
Talk to you soon.